Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Cosmic Panel. Today, we are here to bring you 10 total books that you can jump into from DC Comics if you're looking to get in. We here at the Cosmic Panel are all about reader accessibility. We're all about bringing new people into the fold. Obviously, movies and other kind of media have really done us a huge favor in that sphere, in that way. And so we wanted to recommend 5 titles each that we think you guys could get into on an entry level. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited. I have a pretty eclectic list here. Um, you know, 2 guys who've been reading comics for a while and just like to have people to talk comics with and like to just share the love. So, before we get into the video, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Comic Universe. Located in Folsom, PA, outside of Philly, these guys are a worthwhile trip. They have a lovely selection of back issues, of wall books, keys, graded books. We got Pokemon cards now. They got toys, and so much, much more. If you're a new reader, if you're an old reader, this is a great comic shop for you guys to stop by. Mike and Mike have been nice enough to pass us along this sponsorship. Thank you to them. And if you guys see them, tell them the Cosmic Panel sent you. Let's jump into it, Lucas. What is your first pick?
Yeah, so my first pick is Mr. Miracle, written by Tom King and drawn by Mitch Gerads. Um, a phenomenal series that pays huge love to the Jack Kirby Fourth World comics. If you don't know, it's a space opera epic, but you don't need that context to really understand this story. You can basically go in blind as it's about a man's struggle with growing up, basically. He finally has his life together. He seemingly finally has everything, and yet he's still not happy. And it makes you question why. And that's basically the main gist of this book is to be, why am I not happy? I have a son, I have a wife, I'm a superhero. Like I have everything together. Why am I not happy? Um and yeah, some parts of the book are pretty abstract, but it deals a lot with derealization, the purpose of life, and just coming to terms with not being okay. And even if you aren't a comic fan, just those themes alone make this book so much of an engaging read. And if you do know about Kirby's Fourth World, it's even crazier of a read as you get some of the smaller details that you might have missed if you weren't aware of it. But the good thing about that is that you don't need them. I actually read this before I even touched a Fourth World book, and I loved it. I absolutely adored it. The only Fourth World character that I even remotely knew at the time was Darkseid, and I'd heard about Mister Miracle. So to go into this basically blind, I fell in love with this book, um, and it truly, at least for me at the time, hit a chord. Um, but yeah, it's a phenomenal book. It's only 12 issues, so it's quick in and out, but it's well worth the time.
Yeah, and for me, like, I could read this multiple times. There's different stuff to pay attention to each read, in my opinion. So it's has good replay value. Um, it's definitely a little, I would say, more adult. Being a Black Label title. So
Oh yeah,
I would,
definitely don't read this to your children.
yeah, I would keep that in mind. But that's what's interesting is right is
It's not for children.
contradicting the bright themes and colors of Kirby's Fourth World with such a dark, theme is very interesting in that way. And yeah, this is just one example of a Tom King uh, writing tool. This is just one example of Tom King's writing tools where he picks an obscure character or an obscure world, kind of recontextualizes them, makes you care about them, and kind of puts a new spin on it. So yeah, I really enjoy that book.
Yeah. And I mean, I love the tagline of the series. He's dying to escape life. Oof. What a
Yeah,
what a what a tagline. what a way to really set the mood for this series.
Big
So
time.
yeah, I love this series. But yeah, Elias, what is going to be your first introduction book to the DC universe?
I'm going to start real plain and simple, and that is with Batman Superman, World's Finest. If you guys have been watching the channel, you know I love this series. But if you haven't, let me tell you a little bit about
Lucas was right.
it.
Lucas was right.
The yeah, I should have prefaced this whole video with saying that I didn't really actively read DC until Lucas pointed me in the right direction. So this video wouldn't exist without that. So I guess I should
I
say
appreciate it. I was
that.
jokingly saying that, but
No, but it made me think like this is true. But anyway, Batman Superman World's Finest is a great entry level book because, hey, these are two of the biggest powerhouses of the DC universe, as you, I'm sure, know. Now, what I like about this book, it is brought to us by Mark Waid and Dan Mora, by the way. In most cases, Dan Mora is on the art. And this is a book that you don't have to worry about continuity with. I think that goes a long way. Yes, there is the initial arc with Devil Neza that does kind of tee up rather, the Lazarus event that we do get later in that year. But you don't have to read that event. Each arc is its own adventure. It doesn't really matter which order you read the arcs in. You can jump in at any point, you can jump out at any point. These are just really fun interactions with Batman, Superman, and the greater DC universe in just all their, glory. This is just such a fun read. Great, fantastic art, super clean, super sleek from Dan Mora. And Mark Waid just showing that, he cares about these characters. This is a veteran, a veteran comic book writer at this point who, really likes to dig deep, but can also give you something surface level. So there's just so much fun to be had with this series. It is ongoing. So if you're looking for a book to pick up every month, this is a great one. And obviously, you can hunt through your back issue bins. You can read this online to catch up to the current issue. So yeah, love this book.
yeah, I like to say that this is basically Golden Age tales, Silver Age tales told with modern dialogue. Um, they're basically the plots are pretty simple. They're pretty straightforward. They're pretty like classic comic book esque, but the dialogue really holds it well, and the art is spectacular. And it really goes to show that this is basically what the kids back then experienced with comics. It might not have like if you reread it, obviously it doesn't look the same, but in your imagination when you're a child and you're reading a Superman early issue, this is basically what people were thinking and imagining. And it really goes to show just like the love that comics has. Um, all it needs is a good creative team, and comics can be written beautifully.
Yeah, simple as that. So Batman, Superman, World's Finest. Find that one. All right, Lucas, what is next up for you?
Next up for me is Books of Magic. This is a 4-issue miniseries written by Neil Gaiman and drawn by 4 different artists actually. And I'm gonna shout out each artist because the books are beautiful. Um, so the first issue has John Bolton. The second issue has Scott Hampton. The third issue has Charles Vess, and then the final issue has Paul Johnson. This is a 90s book through and through. It was made in 1990, 4 issues, and it is jam packed with so much uh, wonderful storytelling. You are quite literally taking the perspective of a 14-year-old who's getting introduced to the DC magical universe. This kid basically gets told, hey, you are going to be the greatest wizard of our generation. You are like a once in every like 1,000 years type of wizard, and you can either be good or evil. We're here to lead you on being good. Some of us want to kill you. Some of us think that you should live. We're going to teach you, and hopefully you come out better. And it is a wonderful story. You'll meet the likes of John Constantine, the Phantom Stranger, Zatanna. You'll meet weird characters that I never heard, like Mr. E. I actually now know who that is, which is crazy because I remember seeing him in the dollar bins constantly. Uh, and he is a crazy character once you actually know who he is. What a weird man. Um, and then you also have like Doctor Occult, who's like a golden age character that I never heard of. But all these characters are so well written, and you get to experience so much of the magical universe. Each issue deals with a different thing. The first issue deals with like the building of the universe in general. The second issue deals with basically the more magical side of stuff, the world, the magic users that are currently in the modern day. The third book deals with like basically alternate dimensions, such as like fairy and the dreamscape and such like that. And then the fourth is basically what could happen if Timothy Hunter, who is the main character, the 14-year-old boy, chooses the wrong path. It's a and what happens at the end of the universe. We get a little glimpse at it, and spoiler alert, everything dies, I guess. Literally, it's just death in the void being like, hey, I'm the last one here. But yeah, no. What a phenomenal series. Um, this I binged the series so much. And I know that there's a ongoing that follows up after this as written by a different team. And I've heard great things about that. But if you're just trying to get into the DC magical universe, this is a perfect 4-issue mini to get you into that.
Yeah, this is one of those Vertigo titles that I would always just see around, always see in the dollar bins, and I never hear much talk about it, so I'm glad to hear that it's fantastic. It sounds, and yeah, this obviously would give you a great introduction to so many characters that I know I love. So I definitely will be checking this out. DC Supernatural Corner is like my favorite, so very cool.
Yeah, and man, they do John Constantine right. The kid, there's a very funny moment where Timothy goes, "So do you know any magic?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "So why? What are you going to teach me about magic?" And he's like, "I don't really know." It's just like it's so funny. He's just like, and then he enters a room and he scares everyone, and he doesn't even. All he asks is like for like someone to light his cigarette. It's so funny because it's just like everyone's terrified of it. And it's like, yeah, put reverence on John Constantine's name, boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is your next pull, Lies?
Next up for me, I'm going to recommend Swamp Thing, and this is the volume by Ram V and Mike Perkins. Now, this is a very interesting one. Swamp Thing is a character that I've always enjoyed, but never had a run that I fully endorsed, I guess, if that's how I might put it. This really deals with themes of, I would say, environmental awareness, minority politics, um, kind of real world things that use that Ram V uses to kind of convey his story. So Swamp Thing is sort of a vehicle for those themes, but we get a look into the DC supernatural sphere, and we get to see lots of cameos by characters that everyone knows and loves, and it's just a really enjoyable, very artful kind of book. So I would say if you're fans of like higher art, something that's not so quickly digested, I would say this is a good book. Deals with the concept of the green, which is, well, and the other ones too, like the red and all that kind of stuff. So if you're looking to learn more about um, those kind of, what would you say, like base element or like natural
Supernatural
forces,
aspects.
like the base forces, like the stuff that makes up the DC universe,
Yeah,
basically. Um, this is a good place to jump in. Um,
the
it,
building blocks.
yeah. It was split into 2 seasons. This is when DC was trying out the seasonal format, which I
Which they
really
should bring
enjoyed.
back.
Yeah. So you can digest this in kind of 2 chapters, if you will, 2 seasons. And this got extended because people really enjoyed it. Um, I think it ended up being what, like 16 or 18 issues.
Yeah, it was a good amount of issues, but I think the original was like what 10 or 11,
Yeah.
um, and then it got extended a good amount. Um, but yeah, I remember recommending this to Eliza after the first season had. Oh
Hmm.
no, not right after the first season. The second season had just been announced again, and I'd read it, and I recommended it to Eliza and told her
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. 16 issues. So um, it's not super long. I
No,
would
very short.
say you can read it multiple times. It does have replay value, but 16 issues, you can just kind of jump in. Definitely get introduced to some new characters. Um, the host of Swamp Thing is, different in this. Levi is a young Indian man, so we get the perspective from him as a Swamp Thing, which is a different kind of twist, which is very cool. And yeah, I just love this book. It's pretty abstract in moments. It's pretty out there, but there's a lot of very real themes that get tackled. And yeah, this is just a book that I will always come back to.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal.
Lucas, what do you have up next?
Next up for me is DC: The New Frontier, written and drawn by Darwin Cook. This is such a love letter to the Silver Age. If you are trying to get as easy of an intro to the DC universe as you can while getting as much of like the different characters, this is it. You get introduced to the Flash, Martian Manhunter, Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. You get introduced to all these different characters. You get introduced to the Challengers of the Unknown. You get introduced to uh, the Suicide Squad. You get introduced to all these different types of characters in such a unique way to the point where by the end you kind of get the whole gist of the universe, at least as a basic concept. It's so well done where even small stories where you're thinking, okay, this is kind of weird. It's almost like a one shot esque story. Um, Eventually leads and combines just to all lead into the one storyline. It's great. It touches on the JSA. It touches on so many different stuff that like most DC fans I feel like don't know that much about, but it does it in a way where it's not overwhelming you, which is what I love.
Yeah, I only ever saw the animated film of the New Frontier, so I know this story from that level. I never read the comic itself, but yeah, I actually recently came across this set, um, sorting through comics, and this is a very, I would say, like Silver Age style art. And I didn't realize it was only one creator, which is also very cool. So you know that he has complete control over this story. They let him, do his thing, and I think it really, shows the love of the DC universe in this medium.
Yeah, I will say it kind of made me a fan of the Challengers of the Unknown. I'm not gonna lie, I might have to read some of their stuff. I might have
That's
to read
funny.
some of it.
Another Kirby property.
I know. I was like, I never really had like read that much about them, but like this was like so fun where I was like, huh, maybe I'll give them a shot.
They were supposed to do uh or maybe it's still happening, but they're supposed to do a Challengers ongoing like soon.
I mean, they got so many new
Remember
stuff
they
that's been announced. I do remember them
they tease
announcing
it at the
something.
end of World's Finest, like annual.
Yeah. So, Elias, what's next up for you?
My next recommendation is Human Target. This is from Tom King and Greg Smallwood. Now, Greg Smallwood was a artist that I did know from his work on Moon Knight, and man, was that a beautiful book. So when I saw that he was on this book, per Lucas's recommendation, it didn't take me a lot of convincing to jump into this. Now, this is another Tom King example of taking an obscure character, a character that people didn't know about, bringing them to the forefront, and just doing something truly creative and truly amazing with them. I would describe this as a mystery slash noir slash thriller book, and this is um, another maxi series, if you will, where we just have an open and shut case. This is just bringing some more characters to interact with other characters that you probably don't know. But if you enjoy, I would say, uh, really good dialogue, if you enjoy a mystery, this is going to keep you on the edge of your seat and it's going to keep you wanting to read. Um, I really think that the art uh, does kind of feel like classic comic book art, but it's so polished that you just can't help but continue to read and really feel like this is a true modern masterpiece. We deal with Justice League Europe, and we get a lot of characters that you
It's
may or may
Justice League
not know.
International.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of Europe because that was another title that team was
Yeah,
in. So we get Justice League International, which has some characters that you may or may not know, maybe from some animated shows like Guy Gardner and Fire and Ice, etc. So yeah, this is just a really fun time. It definitely has a lot of twists and turns, and I would say if you like it, you'll figure out pretty fast. Like for me, it was like first couple issues, I was pretty invested. This has a countdown that really keeps you on the edge of your seat, I would say, and really just keeps you wondering what's happening next and what's the bottom of the mystery,
yeah. I've reread this, and I will say, having reread it, there's a lot of details that you missed the first time, but knowing the conclusion, you get it the second time. So it's 100% like any murder mystery. It's well worth the reread.
Yeah, most definitely. And there is also a one shot that's pretty fun as well.
Yeah,
So outside of the main, story, which I believe is only like 12 issues, you get the annual as well.
and
And
that
this is a
cover.
character. Oh yeah, I mean these
Sorry, I was going to say
covers.
the cover for the one shot won the Cosmic Panel Award, at least from my side, for best cover of the 2022, I think, or 2023.
Yeah,
Pretty high praise, if I say so myself.
I mean there's not one target. I mean one cover that I dislike from this run. It's just
Oh yeah,
incredible. So yeah, another 12 issue Tom King opus.
he can't keep getting away with this.
I will say now that I read all of his stuff, or at least more of his stuff, that they're not all hits. So
No, they're
it's
definitely not.
interesting. But when he hits, he hits.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
Yeah. All right, Lucas, that brings us to your second to last choice.
Yeah. My next choice after that is Superman by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason. Patrick Gleason draws and Tomasi writes. And this is a phenomenal Superman run. This is my personal favorite Superman run. When I think of Superman, this is who I think of. This is a story about a son trying to relate to his father and a father trying to discover how to raise his son in a world where it keeps battering them down, it keeps telling them no, and where they're not able to express themselves fully. Basically, the basic gist of this is that John Kent, Superman's son, is being raised on a farm and he's slowly gaining his powers. And Superman has to come to terms with that. But the thing is that Clark has never, for the first time ever, he's now faced with an experience that only he would know, that only he has ever experienced, and he can finally share that with someone else. And John, frightened because these powers can harm and do harm people, um, basically has to realize that his dad is there for him. It's a wonderful story. It is the quintessential Superman for me because It's not a Superman where he can punch his issues, where he can just completely destroy. Because yeah, Superman's strong, Superman's powerful, like that. All those power scalers will tell you like he's multiversal, except when it comes down to the small moments where his son is scared, where his son is being called a mistake, where moments like that happen, it's Clark's response to moments like that that makes me love him as a character. And I mean, even outside of that, John Kent has drip as fuck as Superboy. Like, bro, the ripped jeans and like the hoodie, and then like getting the oh man, um, and then also on top of that, you get to see during the run like so many cool different characters interact with him. Because the thing is, John is now being introduced into the DC world with us, so we're getting to see his live reaction to being like, yeah, my dad's Superman, and him actually like learning to understand what that entails because he hasn't been off the farm that much. And so like he meets Damian Wayne, and it's like Damian's such a like a culture shock for him because it's like here you have like the nice kid living on the farm, and then you have the rich bratty kid who was like raised by Batman, and they become best friends, and it's so wholesome. Um, Everything in this book is so well done to the point where if I'm recommending a Superman run, if I'm trying to show someone a run, the first arc of this book is perfect in my opinion. It is a quintessential Superman story. This entire run is a quintessential Superman story, but even just the first arc alone is well worth the read.
Yeah, I've heard Lucas gush about this Superman run many a time. This is, what I like about Superman, or the stories that I enjoy of Superman the most are when, yeah, he's not just punching his way out of stuff. It's a lot more nuanced, a lot more involved, and really showing the pitfalls almost of being this super powerful individual. So, yeah, very cool.
What's next up for you, Elias?
My next selection is going to be Spirit World. This is a much more recent title, and this deals with all new characters. So, if you want to get into the DC universe from a brand new angle, Spirit World is from the We Are Legends line, that had lots of Asian American creators, bringing basically new characters to the forefront. This is a 6-issue miniseries, so not very long. You can jump into this pretty easily, and just kind of get right into things. Um, our main character Xanth does interact with some more known characters: Batgirl, Cassandra Cain, Batgirl, and John Constantine. And this is another supernatural pick, as I did state before. I do love the supernatural side of DC Universe, and this really dips into supernatural stuff and also a lot of Chinese mythology, which is kind of a cry back to my beginnings of book reading. I was a huge mythology head, so this deals with a lot of elements and then also adds a DC twist to them. Um, so yeah, this deals with some bigger themes of gender identity. That's definitely a big one, and also I would just say kind of life and death. Um, Spirit World is a place that we do get to see. Xanth is basically the bridge between the human world and the spirit world, which gives them a very unique power set. Basically, they make is origami universal?
Yeah, it's just origami
Yeah. So
creations.
yeah, so they make origami that then can transform into real objects. So it's a very unique power set,
So
uh,
gas.
very unique um, kind of world that we get to see. And I didn't say this at the top, but the creative team on this book is Alyssa Wong on the writing and Haining on the art. So yeah, this is a really fun book. I think this is great for all ages. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a very approachable title that you again like approaching the DC universe from another angle. If you don't want to get into all the huge characters, this is kind of a smaller start.
Yeah. I like to say that if the character can swing a sword that's 3 times their size, they're usually way cooler than you think.
Good
That's a
rule
pretty
of
good
thumb, yeah.
rule. Yeah. So Xanth has a Buster Sword, so immediately I was clocked in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you see any of these covers on the shelf, you'll probably be interested.
I just want to know like how intricate the origamis can get because they seem like pretty like they they seem pretty like blunt object wise, but like I'm
Mhm.
curious if like I don't know if you can make like an origami pistol.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Xanth like spends like 5 hours making. You think Xanth has to watch like YouTube videos on how to do all the origami?
YouTube tutorials, definitely when they were starting out, yeah.
But yeah,
All right, Lucas, that brings us to your final recommendation.
yeah, my final recommendation is Batman Year One. Batman Year One is the quintessential Batman story, written by Frank Miller, drawn by David Mazzucchelli. Um, this is a 4 issue mini, basically, that has been collected multiple times into its own trade paperback. Um, it basically details the introduction of Batman into this world from the street level. Basically, if you're a fan of Batman and you've been wondering, man, how does he build up to the point where he's fighting Joker and he's fighting all these different characters? This shows you what it was like when he originally came in, how awful it was, how dirty and scummy it was, and you see him slowly dismantle not only the corruption within the crime syndicate itself. I mean, taking out the crime syndicate itself, but also the corruption within the police department itself, with the help of James Gordon. You get to see them build a relationship. You get to see Bruce learn how to do stuff in real time. This is a very non-mystical story. There isn't any huge super strength. It's a very like street level, very straightforward story. Batman has a lot of scenarios here where he could easily die. Um, and they do very well to remind you that. And he does make mistakes in this mini. Like there are moments where he screws up, and people pay for that. Um, but it makes the story feel like there's stakes because he's learning in real time. Um, I love this. I read this after watching the Batman, the 2022 film, and I can see where it got a lot of its inspiration from. This is, to me, if you want a, a great Batman story and you don't know where to start, this is it. As straightforward as you can get.
Yeah, this is only 4 issues, so this is just an arc from the ongoing Batman book, issues 404 to 407, I believe. And like Lucas said, there's trades, there's hardcovers, there's so many printings of this book because it really just is the essential Batman story to begin with, you know?
Yes, there's a DC Comics essential version of it called Batman Year One. That's how essential it is. I don't know why I whispered that. Anyway,
Real ones will listen.
yeah. Anyway, Elias, what is your top pick for someone entering into the DC universe?
My top pick is a book that won the best DC book of its year when it was released, and I am talking about Suicide Squad Blaze. This is brought to us by Simon Spurrier and Aaron Campbell, a truly incomparable team. These guys just work so well together. And yeah, this is not your typical Suicide Squad story. Yes, we do get our classic Suicide characters that we now know and love from the movies, like Harley Quinn, like King Shark, like Captain Boomerang, and many more. We do observe this story from the lens of a brand new character. Basically, Blaze is an experiment that a few individuals partake in. Amanda Waller is in charge of this operation, and these people are being observed to see what powers they get, to see how long they live, to see um, you know, what use they are to the Suicide Squad, because it is a division of that. This is definitely another heavy book. It is a Black Label book, but it deals with some philosophical stuff. It deals with some more existential themes for sure, and it's another artful book. So if you're looking for something that's not a straight ahead pick, this gets pretty heavy pretty fast,
Yeah.
and it's definitely rather adult. But man, this is my favorite series when it came out of the year. The art is super abstract. It's beautiful paint by Mr. Aaron Campbell. And Lucas and I spoke to him at Comic Con one year and found out that he paints because he paints based off of models. So he makes all these things from modeling and then paints them. I mean, it's just
Yeah, it's
crazy
crazy.
process. This book is only 3 issues. That's it. They are definitely, larger issues. They are magazine size. This is
Well
something
worth
I
it.
definitely recommend to read in physical form because the art is just that amazing. And man, yeah, characters that you know, characters you don't, and man, just a wild ride.
Yeah, and if you think a character can't die in this book, um, it's a Black Label, baby.
That's right. Yeah,
Anyone's
you
on the
never know what's gonna
table.
happen.
Anyone and everyone will die. But yeah, no.
So yeah, these are 10 titles that Lucas and I think that you, a new reader, could jump into in the DC pantheon of comics. Obviously, there are so many more. These are just ones that him and I read. Him and I think are kind of the quintessential, ones. So yeah, comment below if there's anything that you would recommend to a new DC reader, or if there's any book that you are thinking about picking up. Some of these are ongoings. Some of these can be found digitally. All of these can be found digitally, but you can find these in trade paperback format, in single issue format. So many ways to enjoy these comics. So we hope you do. And thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, smash that bell, read, support your local comic shop, and read comics. Bye bye.